Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this second session in our Coping with COVID webinar series focused on young people's mental health during this global coronavirus pandemic, organized by my office, the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, and that's me. My name is Jayatma, together with WHO and UNICEF. First of all, I want to thank all of you who joined our first webinar 2 weeks ago, and we've greatly benefited from your response, from your feedback, and it's been so heartening to get thousands of young people participate, but also actively contributing to the webinar and its follow-up. Also, apologies, there were more than 1,500 young people who couldn't get into the webinar because we exceeded the cap or the maximum number of participants in the first 5 minutes 2 weeks ago. So we have now moved on to a bigger and better platform. So welcome everyone again for the second edition of the Coping with COVID webinar. So as the coronavirus pandemic continues to expand to new countries and the need for physical distancing becomes a reality in more and more people's lives around the world, we need to make sure that we take care not only of our physical health, but also of our mental health. So as promised last time, we have enabled greater participation today. Also, we have enabled a safe chat box where you can post your questions, comments, and insights during the webinar. We have also made provision for real-time captioning so that young people living with disabilities could access this content. So if you don't already have it, there is a link for CART, C-A-R-T, closed captioning that was posted with the link to the webinar. Please access that. And that with that quick introduction, I am moving forward to a very exciting agenda. So today, this hour, we will have 4 different segments. In the first segments, we will be speaking to 6 young people about their experience dealing with mental health issues during COVID, or how they dealt with the different changes that were so rapidly imposed on us during this very short period of time. And then we will hear how they personally dealt with these issues and what tips and advice they have to give to all the other thousands of young people joining us here today. So while these 6 inspiring youth advocates share their stories and their tips and advice, I also want you who are watching us and listening to us to be active. So I'm encouraging all of you to answer these 2 questions in the chat box, so that we can look at your answers together with the answers of the youth speakers and look at the trends, look at what different priorities of different parts of the world are, and analyze a little bit how mental health issues are challenging all of you. And also your answers, comments, and questions will also continue to be the basis for us to define the priorities for our upcoming and future webinars. So the 2 questions are, please take note. First, what do you need for your mental well-being in the context of COVID in your country? Number 1, what do you need for your mental health and well-being in the context of coronavirus in your country? That's question 1. Question 2 is, when you hear the word self-care, what are the 2 words or phrases that immediately comes to your mind? When you hear the word self-care, what are the 2 words or phrases that immediately comes to your mind? So these are the 2 questions. Keep sending us your answers, keep sending us your comments in the chat box, and later in a different session, we will be looking at your answers and we will be analyzing them, and we will be reviewing what are the different trends that different young people are experiencing in different parts of the world. So after many of you have gotten in touch about how to practically approach your mental health, in segment 3, we will focus on how to put together a wellness plan. And we have another young person joining us later in segment 3 to share her well-being plan and to inspire you to create your own. So look forward to that. And the final segment, we will have a short experiential session on mindfulness to help us through stressful times like this. So, the last session is going to be a very practical session where all of us virtually will be able to experience mindfulness together. So, we look forward to that very much too. Um, Thank you again for joining us today, and I'm so glad to have all of you here. So I look forward to spending all of this time with you. As I said in the first segment today, we'll talk about what young people need for mental health and well being during COVID 19, what work for their own mental health, and what self care tips you have for other young people. And joining me for this conversation is six amazing young people. We have Wang Zukun from China, Majianta Zureiman from Indonesia, Grace Gatera from Rwanda, Josia Tualamalai from New Zealand, Daniel Duadagnolo from Italy, and Mohammed Amin Zurak from Ghana. So later in this conversation, Jumana Haj Ahmed from UNICEF and Aisha Malik from WHO will also join in. First, let me invite our first speaker, Zilkun. Zilkun is from Jinan, a city in the north of China. She is 22 years old and is a master's student at the Wuhan University. She majors in German language and literature. Thank you so much for connecting, Zilkun. We hope that you are safe and well. I want to ask you first, what do young people like yourself need for your mental health and well-being in the context of COVID in your country? And what helped you or what worked for you in terms of taking care of your own mental health?
Hey, thank you, Jay. And so 11 days ago, China held a nationwide morning event for over 3,000 Chinese people who lost their life in the COVID-19 pandemic. A large part of this are from the city where my university is located, Wuhan. After 76 days of lockdown, the cities were opened on April the 8th, and the life of people in Wuhan has gradually returned to normal. With the timely and effective measures taken by various levels, with the devotion of medical staff and responders in many areas, and also with the voluntary sacrifice of normal life like me and of the billion people, my country is recovering rapidly. So in the early days, I felt anxious and worried like many others in Wuhan. I worried about the safety of my family and friends, and staying at home every day with my parents also led to some misunderstanding and quarrels between us, and I felt reluctant to do anything when I stayed alone. But when I saw the news that many people were helping by delivering medical supplies, raising funds, or serving in communities, I realized that I could also help by joining them. I noticed that many frontline medical staff are tirelessly treating patients that they cannot take care of their children at home. Therefore, I organized an online volunteer service team with my schoolmates to provide online tutoring, mental assistance, and companionship for these children. Now we have 1,500 volunteers serving 641 children aged from 5 to 18 years old. And I was greatly inspired and cheered up in this process. So out of my own experiences, things that worked for my mental health and that I want to share with you is trying to keep yourself engaged in daily life. Since we can only stay at home, I made a routine list of what I should do every day. I used this time to learn something new and also developed some good habits like exercising and reading. And besides, I communicated more with my parents and told them my feelings. This really helped me release my pressure and made our relationship more intimate. And in addition, the volunteer service I'm offering now really encouraged me a lot. So I'd like to suggest you do something meaningful and positive to help others.
Thank you very much, Zukun. So, what are the two words or phrases that immediately comes to your mind when you hear the word self-care?
So when I hear the word self-care, I want to share with you two keywords. One is confidence. The difficulties we are going through are temporary, and the belief that we will overcome it can keep us stay calm and strong. Another one is cooperation. No one lives on an isolated island. So human unity and international cooperation like us are vital for the fight against the epidemic. And as young people, we need to give our hands, stand together, and fight shoulder to shoulder.
Thank you so much, Zikun. You said that volunteering to support those who are in need not only helps those who are in need, but also the person who is helping those who are in need. So, what a terrific story. Thank you so much for sharing. That is very inspiring, and I hope you will continue to do this amazing work even after the pandemic in the post COVID recovery phase in your country and in our world as well. So, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Um, and my next speaker joins us from Jakarta, Indonesia. He works in global health and human rights issues. He is the spokesperson of Youth Movement for FCTC, Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and is the founder of Emancipate Indonesia. This is Margianta Zuraiman. Welcome, Margianta. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about the situation in Indonesia. How's it going? How are young people like yourself trying to be a positive part of the solution in your country? What are some of the mental health issues that young people in Indonesia are dealing with right now? And as a young person yourself, how have you tried to deal with it?
Yeah, thank you, Jatma, for the opportunity. So maybe we start from the COVID situation in my country. The first case started in early March, and since then we have more than 2,700 cases now. And even more recently, government also opened up new data that are more cases. 100,000 people are being watched now, possibly positive of coronavirus, and around 200 died and 200 cured. But what makes us anxious as young people like me is actually the uncertainty of this pandemic. So the lack of transparency from our government has not been helpful at all for our young people who are also feeling conscious about, how we can actually handle this public health crisis better. And we are only as strong as our weakest link, and that's what's been on our top of our mind all the time. And the government's denial, to be honest, is actually very seriously problematic, and it also creates this mental health pressures towards all of us in Indonesia, especially me. We are staying at home. Some of us are privileged enough to do so, but we are also anxious all the time, and we are just, trying to do what we can to help and to look around. Just like Mr. Rogers said, look for the helper. So that's what we are trying to do. It's been worse to watch, but yeah.
Thank you very much, Majeta. We have a lot of hope in young people like you, who are stepping up to the challenge and not even holding your government to account, but are being a role model and example like yourself. So I would like to hear a little bit more about what worked for your own mental health and sanity during these times, and also what does it mean to you when we say self-care?
Yes. So maybe first of all is acceptance, because when we see bad news, we know that everything is not within our control, and we have to accept that reality that we're facing, that we're living in quite uncertain times. Things are beyond our control, but it's okay. We have all our roles, which brings me to the second point of my coping methods in COVID-19 is find your role. So whether you stay at home, whether you are at the front lines, whether you work, still working, but you need protection, we all have a role in this pandemic. So donations, campaigns, I've have promoted donations, I've done campaigns, and also I've tried to provide a safe space to listen to a lot of people. Actually, that means a lot. So I myself have listening to young workers in Indonesia who many also have lost their jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, starvation wages, and I've been encouraging them as well with my friends to unionize, to actually fight for their rights, and to demand that actually healthcare is not a privilege, but it's a basic human right, and we all deserve that, especially the young workers who have all the passion, but now we cannot even pay our bills to stay at home. So this is very important. We need to speak up when we realize we are a part of a movement, even global movement nowadays. Things will be a lot easier, and that applies to me. So at least putting myself in a struggle with others is really helping with me coping with this, because we're in this fight together.
Thank you so much. Something you said really like struck chords in my own mind. You said everyone has a role in this pandemic, and it's up to us to find it. And I think that's very inspiring too. So most of us who's been feeling a little confused and scared and feeling like we are useless, to be honest. And I've been feeling like that myself as well. So thank you so much for sharing your story and inspiring all of us. We look forward to seeing all the great things you will do in the coming months and years as well. With that, I want to invite Dr. Aisha Malik. Aisha is a technical officer in the Department of Mental Health and Substance Use at WHO in Geneva. Aisha, I'm handing over to you. I think it'll be really great if you can give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're doing with WHO before you move on to the youth speakers. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks so much, Jay. Yes, as Jay said, I am a technical officer at the World Health Organization, and I work in various areas focusing on mental health, including the mental health of young people. So that's enough from me, I think, and I'd love to hear now from Daniele. So let me introduce him. Daniele is 26 years old. He's from Arona, a town near Milan in Italy. He's a young professional specialised in marketing and communications. He studied economics and business at the University of Milan and is currently working as an environmental science marketing intern. So Daniele, given the context in Italy for COVID, and perhaps you'd like to tell us about that, what do you think young people like yourself need to sustain their mental well-being? What have been the challenges for you?
Sure. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Above all, I would like to say that I totally agree with the previous speakers like that, and they say meaningful words. But here, I mean, this situation here is a bit different because as Italian, so I can just try to put you this European point of view. Italy has been the first European country that has been affected by this kind of issue when we issue this pandemic. And lucky for us, the government applied some kind of restrictions just in time. So the act of the government has been really great and really fast, and that act allowed us to save the thousands of lives. According to the new data, we are up to 20,000 deaths until now. And without this kind of restrictions, like closing all the activities, all the bars, pubs, and similar, all the social gatherings and similar, we have been able to, let's say, save many lives. But from my personal point of view, I can say to you, but also to all the people that are listening to me, that being alone is not easy, especially if you like me, you used to go out every day to take your train to go to your work, your office, your university, and similar, to greet the same people, to go to the same coffee and take the same dish every day and similar. And now you switch from that kind of environment, so being outside, to this, to stay at home, being alone. If you are lucky, you are living with your boyfriend, girlfriend, family, and similar. But if you are less lucky, you will end up being alone. And to all of you, I would just like to say that you especially are not alone, because we are in this together, and we will also get out together. But also, like, very personally, an advice that I would like to say to all of you is that we live in 2020, and we have been able to get connected. So use your social media, your other channels to stay in touch with your friends, with your family, and similar, because you can do a lot of stuff, from improving yourself via e-learning courses and similar, to start actual projects. Like, for example, I just founded an NGO with a couple of friends called Change for Planet, in which we focus on sustainability, mental health, and climate change. But also you can be part of international marketing campaigns, like the one started by Untitled Youth, which is the United Nations youth group, which I'm part, called the Me for We, in which we share best practices in order to cope with the COVID. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniele, so much, describing really challenging context, but tips for other young people, but also that you've taken up for yourself on how to find some strength and meaning in this time. I think you gave so many tips, and I would like to say to you, if you had to choose 2 words or 2 phrases about self-care from all the wonderful messages that you gave, what would you want to share the 2 messages with other young people?
Well, I have 2 phrases actually. The one is a saying in which we just do that in Italy. In Italian is tempi difficili creano persone forti, which in English means that difficult times create strong people, and this is a very difficult time, and I really believe that all of us will be come out stronger than ever. And my second phrase is that we have to believe in ourselves, because only with this one, we keeping a mind straight, we will just know being able to inspire the others to feel more confident, because our task here is not only about ourselves and feeling better by ourselves, but we have also to inspire the others to let us, our family, our friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, and similar to feel better, because they can count on us. So believe in yourself and stay strong, because we will go out together better and stronger than ever. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Daniele, for that really enlightening and hopeful message there at the end. I'd like to now introduce our next speaker. I'd like to introduce Mohammed, who is joining us from Ghana. And Mohammed is in his first year of clinical rotation as a nurse, and he's a young public health leader in his country and globally, taking action on issues ranging from cancer to mental health. So, Mohammed, we just heard from Italy and Daniele's experience. Can you tell us a little bit about the context for COVID in Ghana, and tell us, what do you think young people like yourself need for mental well-being at this time?
Okay, thank you so much. The COVID situation in Ghana started, let's say, about a month ago, where Ghana recorded its first 2 cases. And just as it has happened across the globe, over the past weeks, the numbers have increased. As we speak today, we have about 636 confirmed cases, and then 8 people are dead so far. Among the 8 people, there is a 19-year-old boy who passed away, but he had been battling with respiratory conditions for a while now. And in an attempt to flatten the curve, the government has put in place some measures like ban on public gatherings, closure of all schools, and then closure of borders as well. But then you can go out and then get some essentials like medicines and food whenever it is necessary. Now, with regards to the concerns or the needs of young people mentally when it comes to COVID-19, I would like us to look at the trialogic approach, etiology of mental illnesses or emotional disorders when it comes to mental health. You know, we have the host factors, we have the agent factors, and the environmental factors. Now, the environmental factors, especially which we find ourselves in, it is the stresses that we engage that seem to impact our mental health negatively. So when we talk about the emergence of this corona pandemic, it has put young people in various forms of emotional and mental health distresses, ranging from depression, suicidal tendencies, anxiety, and all those stuff. But then it is very, 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 very imperative that as leaders or as a group of people, we consider the concerns and issues and worries of young people as valid, and not that they are overreacting. I don't know if you get me. We should consider them that they are worthy of needing appropriate intervention. So what do young people need? We need safe spaces whereby our feelings, our worries can be communicated, so that we are listened to attentively, without any judgment, without any fear of being mocked at, without any fear of being mocked at, or without even stigmatization. Those are some of the things that young people need. And also, I would like to put in a very, very, very key point with regards to young people that are living with disabilities. Let's not exclude them in this moment, because exclusion can do very, 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 very bad damages to one's mental health. So during press briefings, we should have people who do sign languages interpreting for other people who are, let's say, have hearing impairment, to also kind of buy into what it's been said, so that they can feel that they are connected to whatever is going on. And also, due to the stay at home, certain young people are being abused. I'm sure all of you are aware now by the high rate of reports that have been reported across the globe of domestic abuse for both mothers and children. These are issues of mental health that we need to take critically and then look for the appropriate interventions to help stem this. Thank you.
Wow, Mohammed, thank you so much. That was a great piece of education about the situation for mental health and really powerful messages on people that might be excluded and that we need to think about at this time. So I wonder if we could just move on, and if you could tell me a little bit about what's worked for your mental health right now.
Okay, so just as you made mention, I'm a nurse, and so I usually have to go to work and attend to people. I have not recorded a coronavirus case in my facility, but then there have been suspected cases and all have come out to be negative. What has worked for me personally has been the fact that I always spend 30 minutes or an hour a day to practice meditation. Practice meditation, practice mindfulness, and practice gratefulness. Practice gratefulness in the sense that I appreciate the kind of family members I have, the friends that I have, the work that I do, that I impact people's life, and that is giving meaning to my life. Those are some of the things that I do. What also that has worked for me has been to take control of what is within my domain. Like, for example, the movies that I watch, I listen to old music, old school music that brings back some good old memories that does a lot of good to my mental health. And also I connect with friends virtually, and that has been also very good. I connect with friends virtually so that I can get a very, very, very good laugh. So those are some of the things that has worked for me.
Great, thanks. So what would be your two messages on self-care, your two key points on self-care for everyone else?
Okay, so when we say self-care, the two key words that come to mind are personal and then virtually engaged in this context we find ourselves. Personal in the sense that I believe when it comes to our mental health, there's no one size fits all. You have to be personal with it in the sense that you have to look for what works for you personally. If it is doing more social media that works for you, you have to engage in it. If you are the productive type who feels like staying at home and doing nothing doesn't feel right for your mental health, kindly engage in something, learn something, be it an instrument or whatever you feel like you have to do. Virtually engaged. No man is an island, just like we say. So, in one way or the other, we have to influence our happiness over others. So, you have to stay connected virtually with your friends, your family members, your loved ones, over all the social media platforms that are available to you in order to help your mental health in this times. So basically, my two key self-care words are personal and then virtually engaged. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mohammed. Thanks both to Daniela and Mohammed from both very different contexts, different challenges, but also common challenges as well. I think both have found ways to navigate these and find activities that are meaningful to them and make a difference for their self-care. So I think the message is clear. Everyone has the capacity to self-care, but it's important we listen to young people, we make sure they're heard, and that we make sure that those who might be excluded from these conversations are included. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you also, Daniela and Mohammed as well, for sharing those also very personal experiences and lessons learned from your lives. Thank you for all of those who are sending all your comments and answers on the chat box. It's so great to see all of you so engaged and not just passively listening, but also actively taking part in this conversation. So before I move on to our next speakers, I want to remind you the questions again, not the new questions, the old questions, but reminding you again. First, number one question is, what are the mental health needs of young people in the COVID context in your country? And number two is, in 2 words or phrases, tell us, what does self-care mean to you? So type out your answers in the chat box, and in the next session, we will have a another young person looking at your answers and sharing it with the rest of you, but also looking at some of the common answers and common trends that we will observe in your answers. I also see in the chat box that some of you are expressing your very personal feelings, and also some comments about how depressed, anxious, and confused you are feeling. I just want to remind all of you, those who commented and did not, if you at any point feel like harming yourself or harming others, please seek professional help, and do not be shy about it. Do not think of it as something taboo. It is perfectly okay to seek medical help and seek professional help if you are feeling like anxious and suicidal, as some of you have commented in the chat box. So please take care of yourself. With that, I'm moving to Jumana Haj Ahmed. Jumana works with UNICEF as the Chief of Adolescence Section in UNICEF Global Headquarters in New York. Jumana will also share some of her work, particularly in this context, and also chat to some amazing young people who are working on mental health issues during this pandemic. Jumana, over to you.
Good morning, Jaya, and thank you so much, and thanks for the invite to the webinar this morning. I work at UNICEF headquarters, as mentioned, and my job is really to focus on promoting and advocating for the realization of adolescents' rights and young people's rights. And as part of my job, and to formulate policies and strategies that are relevant for young people, we make sure to listen and hear their voices and views. And hence why this morning's webinar is very important for us to hear from you and make sure that we are in our policies and strategies responding to the needs that you have. And I'd like here to maybe start by inviting Josiah to our discussion. Josiah, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, nice to be with you all. Kia ora from my part of the world. It's 12:30 a.m. in the morning here. Sending you a big hug to you all who have joined us. I thought, I'll just tell you a little bit about what's going on here in New Zealand and some of the tips that have helped me. So thank you for the opportunity. But our first case, we had that on the 27th of February. And very soon thereafter, our government closed our borders, like many others of you have described. Currently, we have we're in our third week in lockdown. We have 1,386 cases. We've really tragically lost 9 people, but we've had 728 people recover. And so we're doing really well. And I think what's helped, and if we're trying to encourage our governments to make the right choices, one thing I'd encourage us to get them to think about is to go hard. The main reason New Zealand's in the position that we're in is our government has acted quickly and they've acted strongly and they've listened to the experts. And if we can make sure our leaders lean on our experts, because they're politicians, they're not necessarily people who know the science, but they should give way to people who know what they know and they can do their bit in rallying and building our morale. But in terms of what's helped me and what I think young people need, we can all make the online safe space that everybody needs. Right now, most of us are using the internet more than we may have. We're on Facebook and other social media platforms. These can be places where we actually hurt a lot of people. And so I encourage us, be kind, share love. Let's be careful about what we post, and not just during COVID, but way beyond. And also, we've got to think about what leaders like Helen Clark and others who did a Lancet, UNICEF, and World Health Organization report about the world's future for children. And those recommendations we should be implementing right now. Another thing we can do is strengthen our bubbles so we can catch ourselves, practice, like when we're feeling a bit sad or angry, not taking it out on the people that are around us, but showing love and mercy. And I think the thing that's really helped me most is I'm an Indigenous young person to my region, so my culture is super important to me. I can't go and give my loved ones a hug because they're somewhere else. I can't, participate in our community songs or our church services. So I've been doing it online, calling people on the phone. Just because we can't be there in person doesn't mean we should let those things stop.
Thank you, Josiah. And for those of you who don't know Josiah, Josiah is a 24-year-old Samoan New Zealander. drawing on his own lived experience of depression, cultural understandings, and youth development experience. In 2018, he was one of the 6 people who led the New Zealand government inquiry into mental health and addictions. He is self-employed, mostly works in governance, mental health and well-being advocacy, and philanthropy. So maybe Josiah, thank you so much for sharing about the context and what young people need in your country. Can you tell us what worked for your own mental health? What was useful and helpful for you during this difficult time?
Well, even though I knew culture and spirituality were important to me, I think like a lot of us, we sometimes forget when we're in distress, like with my own depression and my own lived experience. When I haven't been in a good place, it's sometimes hard to remember what's going to help spark my my hope back. And so there's this tool online that I used. It's called Auntie D. It's where you can put a problem in and work through your problem with that support. And then there was another one that helps me a lot called the Top 5 Tactics by an organization here called Levar. And what that does is it helps me remember that culture, spirituality, connecting, family, and talking are the things I need to do. So even if I forget, I've got 5 things that I can count off. Am I doing those 5 things? And if not, that's what I need to do. And it has worked for me.
Thank you, Josiah. That's really great. Maybe if you can tell us in few words, what are key 2 self-help tips that you can share with the young people with us today?
I think one of the really fun ones that I've heard kids doing is a thing called pause, breathe, and smile. And so, you know, in this, it's very easy just to let it all, you know, fill us up and get us to feel sad and scared. And we can have those feelings, but at the same time, if we can center ourselves, take a breath, take a moment, smile and acknowledge what is good, it might be easier to move forward for us.
Thank you, Josiah, and thank you for reminding us how important it is to breathe, to have the space, and for young people to stay connected and be positive, and also to be spiritual and connect with your own culture to help deal with the current situation. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jaya.
Thank you very much, Josiah and Jumana. Unfortunately, Grace from Rwanda, who was supposed to join us for this session, is finding connectivity issues. Therefore, we will not be able to bring Grace into the live feed right now, but we really look forward to talking to Grace perhaps in a future webinar session. So Grace, if you're watching us right now, I don't know if you are, a big hello to you from here. As I said, we've been very closely looking at all the questions and comments and answers that you're putting out on the chat box. And now I think it's time for us to take a good look at how you have answered these 2 questions and what other questions you have answered from us as well. I tried to answer some of the questions on the chat box as per my knowledge. For an example, there was a lot of questions on where to get reliable information. So my go-to place to get reliable information is WHO website, their social media channels, but also there is a very efficient WhatsApp service that you can get reliable, accurate data from WHO itself. And then I also recommend you look at your national health authorities and their communications channels for reliable information. So this is a very prominent question. That is why I thought of answering. I also posted the link to WHO WhatsApp service in the chat box, and I see somebody else also posted some resources from the side of UNICEF where you can also get a good reliable information. To analyze all these questions and answers, I'm going to invite Omnia El Omrani. Omnia is a 24-year-old medical student from Egypt, and she's currently working at Ain Shams University Hospital. She's also serving as a liaison officer for public health issues for the International Federation of Medical Students. She was being Batul from WHO and UNICEF's Jennifer were helping Omnia to skim through the comments and answers that came in the chat box, and now I'm handing over Omnia with big thanks to all 3 of them to to tell us what young people have been discussing in the chat box.
So, hi everyone. Thank you to all the young people from all over the world who shared with us how they are experiencing. So most of you expressed how you are experiencing anxiety, which has been really amplified by the media due to rumors and misinformation. We've seen how many have experienced lack of productivity due to the lockdown, as well as disagreements with the loved ones, with your family members, as well as trying to learn how to self-care, what are the techniques that can be used. In addition to being really worried about the future because many of you have their studies or their graduation postponed, we've seen also concerns about marginalized communities that lack access, and also the significant concern about unsafe spaces, in addition to spending too much time on social media, which also increases the worry and the stress, as well as some individuals may not be taking the proper precautions, and also missing the physical contact and connection with others. However, we also saw how many of you shared their incredible self-care tips and strategies. So what I've seen that it's really important to first of all love yourself and protect yourself, and with that comes the sense of positivity as well as gratitude, which you can practice, and many of you recommended also practicing mindfulness and meditation, which is also important, as well as getting a good sleep. Now there's also the opportunity to take on fun hobbies and find the little joys in things such as literature, as well as doing physical exercise. The most important thing and key that we have seen is also finding a way to help others and to volunteer, which gives an amazing sense of fulfillment. In addition to also speaking up and connecting with others, expressing each other's worry, and also expressing love to one another, because this is what we truly need at these times. So thank you so much for your comments, and yeah.
Thank you, Omnia. I know that you were not ready for this question, but I just really want to ask you. You are a part of a big youth organization, right? The International Federation of Medical Students Association. How important has it been for you to be an active member of a youth community or a youth organization? And what advice do you have to give other young people who are sending us a lot of questions saying, I'm bored at home, I don't know what to do, I can't meet my friends. How can they be a part of a youth organization, and what does it mean to be a part of a youth organization during a pandemic like this?
Yes, so this is actually a great question, because being part of my organization, because most of the time I'm either staying at home or working only 2-3 shifts per week. So there's a lot of free time that I have. But because now we have really boosted our online platform to not just target our medical students, but all the youth through collaborations with organizations like, for example, the UNICEF and UN Youth Envoy. And through that, we have provided a series of online trainings, online webinars, simple meetings that we just connect on and start talking and discussing either what we want to do. We also try to work so much on, because we are an international organization in countries from all over the world, so we try to create informations or infographics or simple tips and then translate them in all the languages that we have. And we try to share them on all the other youth groups that we are part of, because we also work with other student-led organizations, not just medical, but also pharmacy, dentistry, and so on. So we try to circulate all this information. And there are actually many websites that students have created and used that you can find, and I would be very happy to share them. You can find all the different activities that they can participate in, different tasks that you can volunteer for, and you can do that online. You can help others online. So I'd be very happy to share these tips, because it's very empowering, and now it's very easy for us to connect and to share all the great initiatives that we have done online. And I would be very happy to share also a library that we created that has different examples of what our students in different countries have done in their own country, as well as what we have done on a global virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Omnia. That's very useful. And for all of those who are watching and listening, Omnia, Jennifer, and Batul are putting together some resources, as Omnia mentioned, in the chat box. So if you go to the chat box now, you will find some links to resources developed by UNICEF, WHO, and also, as Omnia mentioned, she will put together the links for the websites and the resources that youth organizations themselves have developed as well. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm moving on to our next segment. If you were a part of our first webinar, I shared a self-care plan of our imaginary friend, Ignacio. Unfortunately, Ignacio was not there in the webinar, but guess who we have today? We have an actual non-imaginary young person, Renata, joining us from Belize, and Renata is going to show you how she came up with her own self-care plan, and she will inspire you to make one of your own as a mean of coping with COVID. So, Renata, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing okay. My name is Renata, as mentioned. I will be explaining a little bit more about the Ignacio self-care plan. I'll ask at this time if you can please show that up on the screen just to jog everyone's memory. Long. However, yeah. So I'm hoping you guys can see that on a screen. But like I was saying, I'll be switching over to the Renata edition, so you can cue that too long as well. And show me, because there's like a million pictures of me trying to just emphasize the fact that this one is all about me, but the one you're creating is all about you. So let's get to it, right? Before I get started, I would like us all to just really enter a place of peace. So I take a deep breath. I'd ask you guys to do the same. And I would like you to breathe in, but let that air fill up your stomach. The way you're breathing, try to let the air fill up your stomach. Feel the air fill up your chest like a balloon. You're inflated. Feel the weight of your body slowly decrease as you release the air. And I'm going to count to 3, and you can slowly release the wind within you. Okay? 1, feel your breath. 2, forget the outside noise. 3, be one with your body. You can cue the next picture with the breathing exercise just so you can see a visual of that whole breathing thing long. Are we relaxed? I'm hoping that we got to a state of some kind of relaxation, because it's really important to me that we found peace in that small moment, that we see and understand what self-care is really about, taking care of yourself. And we're going to start off with looking at the mind. So if you enjoyed that self-calming exercise, then you understand why it's super important that we take care of our mind. So let's think. What calms your mind? What makes you feel happy and at peace? Can you cue the pic for me, Long? Thank you. For me, I wake up and I thank the Lord for waking me up. Then I carry out that breathing exercise that I spoke about just now. So I guess you can say I meditate, right? And I even use music sometimes. If you like, you can go, can you cue that picture for me? If you like, you can go and look up like YouTube music that has healing sleep music or relaxation music for stress relief. Those are really good background music that you can just like play. And the thing is, what you can do is you can do your own daily stuff if you want, and it's just playing in the background. And for some reason, there's just this calming relaxation that comes with this music. So yeah, that's what I normally do. And then also, I would switch on and I can put on my calm songs, yes, of course. Then I put on like some really hype songs. I don't know if you guys know, like some of those music that really get you dancing. And I do that because I want to shift my mood from calmness to excitement, because I'm getting ready for the day. I'm getting ready to tackle whatever life throws at me today. So that's what I normally do, right? And if you can cue the next pic for me, please, Long, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Music is a great source of life and power. I mean, a lot of us can relate to the music that we listen to. So it's really good that we try to find songs that we can relate to. that are going to get us hype or can actually get us into the mood that we want to be in, right? And is that something anyone can relate to? If that is, you should write it down. Write it down that maybe music is for you, but if it's not, then you can choose and think about in this time what really does work for you. I'm just trying to share with you again what works for me, right? So remember, the routine is whatever and I repeat, you feel at peace with or happy with. So can you cue the pic for me again along the next pic? And okay, so this is food basically. And sometimes I cook, right? You can see those are things that I've cooked and I promise you guys, they're all edible, they're really good. But yeah, cooking really calms me down. Smelling the aromas, feeling like all that I've accomplished in that moment, I can eat it and I can share with other people. It brings me like a new sense of happiness. So can you cue the next pic? Besides from cooking, I like to take long showers and I sing my heart out like it's an Alicia Keys concert, everyone. Like I feel like I'm on top of the world. And to me, that's like super relaxing for me. Like I get to enjoy that time, right? I mean, my family isn't that comfortable with me singing, but it does not matter. In that time, that's my moment, right? So if that works for you, if you can relate to your shower singing, put that on your list of things that you want to do when you want to relax your mind, right? Write it down. Can you cue for the next picture, please, Long? So in this time, I want you just to take some moments, and you heard about what I do for my mind, but take a little moment and just like write out exactly what you think works for your mind. It can be anything. Remember, this is yours. This is all your plan. I'm just sharing with you some tips for myself, right? So take some seconds and think about it. And now we're going to move on from the mind aspect, and we're going to go over to something else. We're going to look at, can you cue the picture for me, please, Long? We're going to look at the body. And we're constantly taking care of our body, yes, but I'm not just talking about washing your hands. Cue the picture for me, please, Long. I mean, with all this COVID, we've been hearing 1,000,001 times, wear a mask, wash your hands and everything, but there's other ways that we need to take care of our body as well. And I hope for you, you're getting rest, you're eating right, and you're exercising. I often take naps, and I feel so overwhelmed in the day because there's a lot going on. There's so much news happening. Can you cue the picture for me so they can actually see what I look like when I'm sleeping? So this is a picture of me sleeping, and honestly, this is what I do almost every day. Take a random nap. It doesn't have to be long. It's just like a nap to just like relax myself from all the craziness and the chaos in the world, because sometimes you're scrolling through the news and you're just so overwhelmed because everyone is talking about this and talking about that and what you should do, and you're just feeling like, what are you supposed to do? And I'm like, you know what? Nope, nap time. And I grab my teddy bear, because yes, I still sleep with my teddy bear. He is great company. And I go to sleep and I just relax myself in that time span there. You know, I just like unwind and just be at one with myself in that peace time. So I'm hoping if that's for something for you, you can attempt that too as well, you know? Besides from just sleeping though, I try to do workout videos and I really attempt what they're doing, and key word there is attempt, because it's not about doing everything right, everyone, but you can still do something at home and make it super fun, because at the end of the day, who's really watching you doing your workout video? Think about that, right? So let me show you what I mean with attempt. If you could please cue the video long of me attempting to do my workout. So yeah, that is me doing push-ups and jumping around with my nephew. We were having the time of our life, because moving around is, but please remember too as well, sorry, moving around is not limited to just your family. I mean, I did say that no one is really watching you sometimes when you're doing it in your home, but you can make someone watch you. You can call and connect with a friend and do some workout with them if you want. Do some yoga, do whatever you want to do. You could dance around if you want. Have a party at home in the comfort of your home with the music on, just dancing and having fun. Like for me, If you can cue the next picture for me, Long, please. That's a picture of me and my communications team. We're trying to do yoga. We have our foots in the air and we're doing a thing there. We feel like on top of the world. Yeah. So like, I mean, we have internet, we have these different like FaceTime, we have WhatsApp, we have Messenger, we have all these things that we can just like video call with people. So let's use them and have fun with them. I mean, it doesn't hurt to just try, to attempt it. And even in attempting to video call and trying to do these things, you can actually have so much fun laughing at your friend. And trust me, they're going to laugh at you too. And it's going to be a good physical activity. So in addition to FaceTiming with my friends, doing yoga, to dancing and all of that, I also try to experiment with different shapes and foods. So besides from cooking, this is shapes specifically. And I try to make a fun new creation. And you can show that picture Long of me trying to make a shake. I'm telling you right now, no one in the house is probably going to eat that one because they appreciate my cooking, but they do not like my shakes. But that's fine. I'm just trying to attempt to do something. And that gives me a little peace and calmness as well, attempting to do that physical activity, you know? And if you can think about any physical activity that you like to do, in this time, write it down. I mean, for me, it's making a shake, it's cooking, but some of us don't like to do that. It seems like a task, and I totally understand. Do whatever you like. This is your time. I mean, there are board games to play, there's karaoke to do. The list can go on and on and on and on. I encourage you to write it down. What do you like? Maybe try some ideas from other people too as well, because maybe you discover something that you didn't even know you liked before, and you like it now. I mean, self-care can also be about discovering yourself in new ways to take care of yourself and what's going to feed into your soul. So, speaking of soul, we move now to spirit. What is good for your spirit? And I'm going to ask that you show the picture of me now, me drinking tea, Long. And guys, this is like almost every morning, this is my stance. I get up and I wake up and I just like go make a nice warm cup of tea. And I just smell it. And I know that's probably weird for some people, but I just smell whatever tea I made, whether it be ginger or anything. And I just soak in that aroma, and then I relax. And then I reminisce on all that life has given me, all the privileges. And I know sometimes, especially in this COVID-19 situation, you don't feel as privileged, you don't feel as happy. But I mean, there's things that we can be super happy for, like basic things like just being able to have a family, have a roof over our head, to be able to breathe, or whatever it is. Like, you could just reminisce on all the privileges like that you have. Those are many blessings. So that's what I try to do, to just give myself a different perspective, to start off the day happy. I don't look at the media at all. I don't touch my phone. I first just reminisce and relax. And that's like a good time for me as well. And then after that, you guys know I love my music. So I would put on music, and I would put on like a popular song like Ocean. And you could cue that picture for me showing the oceans, and I listen to the lyrics. There are other songs that I listen to as well, but like I listen to music that sometimes have meaningful lyrics behind it because I want to like connect with the music in that kind of way. And then that kind of gives me another piece too as well, connecting, because I feel like they're singing to me, or they're singing about me, or if like it's something that I want to feel, so I would sing to like get to that state because the music would take me to that place. So like that is something that you can do, but you don't even have to like focus on lyrics. You can focus also on just like instrumentals and like avatar songs. So can you shift to the next one, Long? Thank you. The next picture, yeah. So this one is just showing like different avatar songs, instrumentals and stuff. I mean, music does not have to have words, everyone. You can choose to just listen to instrumentals and get soaked up in that. You can actually try to sing to those and like make your own song. For all we know, you're this next big top rapper that we don't know about, and you discover that listening to your instrumental and rapping to it or something. Hey, just say that I discovered you in some kind of way. No, okay, that's okay. So yeah, moving on. Other things I do try to do is looking and talking to my grandmother, and I would just like call her just to hear her voice and have her tell me a story that she's probably told me a million times before. And can you just cue to the picture of my grandmother on my call? I honestly, before this, I was trying to put together this PowerPoint, and I really wanted to get a picture of my grandmother and me actually talking on the phone. And that was like a task in its own because like every time I called her, like several times, she's always showing me her house, her plants, her dog, the food that she's cooking, everything but herself. So that was a struggle in itself. But even that gave me joy looking at my grandmother try to work her technology. So I stick to the whole screenshot of the call that we just had. So you're gonna have to work with that. But even that, call up a relative, call up a grandparent or something, and like hear their stories. They have a lot to share, and trust me, they have no problem sharing their stories with you over and over, even if you've heard it before. Okay? But yeah, call a friend. Can you cue to the next picture? So I have a great boyfriend, and he lives in Taiwan. So we have time zone differences and everything. But I also often call him up too as well, and I try to like just reminisce and talk about funny times and tell stories. If you can see that big smile on his face, because I made him smile because I'm kind of funny. So I was trying to make him smile in that situation, and like it's just fun. Just like I said before, and I think maybe it sounds repetitive, but I can't enforce it enough or repeat it enough that we have technology. I know we have couple friends or family, someone that we like talking to. Use this time to talk to them, you know, share in that moment with them. And you don't have to be talking about COVID-19. Repeat, your conversations don't have to be about the current situation. They could be about past situations, about things that have happened. And like you could reminisce on that. It's a beautiful moment when you reminisce, right? So I encourage you to just think carefully. What ignites your soul? What makes you feel happy and at peace and puts you to ease? Think carefully, you know? Does anyone like wanna just jot down that? That's the perfect time. Like my friend, she she does exercise to ignite her soul. Like she actually likes to do exercise, not to just to take care of her body, but for fun. I mean, that's really not my cup of tea at all. But I mean, that's totally fine. That's what she does. I mean, like I said before, and I think I've repeated it so much time, this is your self-care plan. What works for you, right? It can never be too perfect or anything. It's just your stuff, okay? So yeah, continue moving on. I would like you guys to think about that. And I repeat again, and I know this sounds so bad to say it over and over, but guys, I really want you guys to think and write what works for you. Like in this moment, I know you guys can think about it in the top of your head. Man, I like doing this. Man, I really enjoy talking to this person. Man, I like, you know, I feel fun when I'm doing this. And in that moment, just write it down, like jot it down on your phone. If you have a pen and paper, write it down because it's what works for you. Stay connected and everything. And like I'm saying, this is your self-care plan. This is not mine. I'm sharing you mine so you guys can have a taste and like can get like a little, you know, follow through. You know, when your teachers give you an essay to write and they give you like, you know, other templates that look like it, it's kind of like that. So write down what you like. Do what works for you. So if you could cue that picture, the next picture for me, Long, like I say, this is my self-care plan now. So if you can see, it's all connected. I have the mind and the body and everything connected, because if you realize sometimes too, when you work on one part, like your mind or your body or your soul, it starts to like intertwine. So you start to feel peace in like all these parts of yourself. So even like just working on just one part of the self-care plan, you can then affect your body. You can then affect your soul. So just try, even if it's just one part of the self-care plan, work with that, you know? And I'm just going over mine, like I said. Now, I made a list to help me gain a little bit more perspective and awareness. I encourage you to do the same as well. Can you cue the picture? And this is looking at how you can shift your mind to a better place. And you can do the same, like I said. I thought of all the supportive people in my life, and I wrote them down. And this could be a long list, it could be a short list, it doesn't matter. Write it down. For me, I have coworkers, and you could shift to show the picture of all my all the people that I have on that screen with all the people. Yeah, so there's a lot of people there. I have a lot of like coworkers, and then I have my boyfriend, I have my close friends, I have my mom, my dad, my grandparents. Yeah, all of them, they're supportive of anything. And I did that because I think a lot of times that we aren't being as positive as we should be sometimes in situations, and reminiscing on people that we have in our life can help us to get to that place. So you can be very specific, and you can like write down their names, and then what you can do also with that writing down, or maybe even finding a picture, because you can do what I did and make like a collage of it. you can just think about the moment. Because like looking for pictures is pretty fun too as well. I had so much fun looking for these pictures because I got to remember what was happening in that moment and why I consider that person to be supportive in the first place. And that's in itself a beautiful moment because you get to think and laugh and you find yourself laughing to yourself or smiling to yourself because these people, you love them. And that can bring up your day to think about that. So like in your self-care plan, you can reminisce on why you love these people, why they're supportive to you, why you feel so close to them, why are they on your self-care plan, and that gives you new perspective, right? Right. So that could bring happy thoughts, and we're looking for happy thoughts, taking care of yourself. So after I created that list, I moved on to another list, and this one is more of what I want to accomplish for the day. You can make it be just day, you can make it be for the week, you can make it be for the month. It does not even matter. It's what works for you, right? So can you cue that picture for me? Yeah. So there's a picture of me laughing in yellow and everything and so forth. Basically, it's looking at the small goals I want to work towards. And my goal is really, I want to be at peace with where I am presently. And I want to remember that there are a lot of things, and I'm going to say this super slow because I really want you guys to catch this. I want to be at peace with where I am presently, and I want to remember that there are things I cannot control. And that is super okay. I mean, I want to find joy in what I can control, and that may seem simple, but throughout the day, it gets really hard. But if I set a reminder that this is what I want to accomplish, yeah, can you show the next picture? Then I feel like, okay, I can do this. I kind of gas myself up and say, yeah, I can do this. I mean, you can go as far as setting a reminder on your phone, because like if you're like me and your brains get scrambled sometimes, you kind of forget what you wanted to accomplish, or you get so busy or caught up in whatever you're doing, watching a show or whatever. And then you're like, what did I say I want to accomplish? So set a reminder on your phone. And as you can see there, I have that little reminder. And basically, I don't know if you can see because it's kind of small, but it says, remember, reflect on the good things and find peace in them. So that's my reminder sometimes that I just have pop up on my phone. And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, am I reflecting? And I do an accountability test that I'm like, what did I do today? Did I really reflect on what that feeling of peace? Did I really get what I wanted to? But remember, your list can be anything you want it to be. You can show that picture for me along the next one. You can slide on to the next one. What would you like to accomplish? Is it happiness? Is it productivity? Is it control? Whatever it is that you want to accomplish for that day or that week or the month in general, work on it. Like actively work on it. Don't make it just be a dream or something. Like put work into it. Remind yourself. Be accountable. Even have a friend if you want to call and check on you and be like, hey, are you having peace today? Are you being accountable? That could work too as well. Just be able to think that you can accomplish it and try to work towards it, because you can do it. You can. Now, I have shared with you my self-care plan. And I hope in this process, because I know I was going through this whole thing, and I'm kind of not like the teachers that give you so much time to write things down, but I'm hoping that you did get time to scribble something in there. I hope that you're able to like create yours, or maybe just even put pointers on the mind, the body, the soul, and then look at your supportive people in your life and your accomplishments or what you want to accomplish more or less for the day. And you got a head start on your self-care plan, right? Because at the end of the day, we might carry out our day and we're stumbling on issues and we just get so caught up in it. But it's good to have self-care. It's good to realize that I can control some stuff, which I can control myself. I can try to control the reactions that I have. If you can cue to my last picture, Long, thank you so much for being so helpful with this PowerPoint for me. As you carry out your day and stumble on issues, think. And I really want you to think on it. Am I taking care of myself? If you can't, like I said, you can't always control the situation you're placed in. We can't control this COVID-19 like that, but you can control how you react to it. So take care of yourself. Think about your reaction. And it's okay to react wrongly and then go back to being calm or go back to your peaceful moment. We're humans. So just remember, in everything that we're doing and all this whole self-care plan, whatever you jot down, just make sure it's really looking towards taking care of yourself. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you got something out of it. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Renata. This has been extremely useful. We spoke about this as, a theory or some academic exercise in our last webinar, and it was really great to see how practical it is when you apply it to your life, and the way you build your self-care plan, and the way you implement it, and the way you troubleshoot it. I'm sure a lot of young people who are watching us today benefited from all those experiences that you shared in such a fun way. Um, Also, thank you to everyone who's engaged in the online chat. We are trying our best to respond to your questions, comments, and take your feedback. As I said, Jennifer, Batul, and Omnia has been trying to respond to all the questions. We've put on the chat box some links to resources, verified, reliable resources from the side of the UN. But also I see that other youth organizations and young people are coming onto the chat box and sharing their resources and talking to each other as well. So in addition to sharing these important messages on mental health and priorities and tips, I'm so proud of the community we are building around this issue. And I'm so proud of all of you coming together so fearlessly to talk about issues that are sometimes considered as taboo in our communities. So with that, I want to thank everyone again and again and again for all the amazing support you extended to carry out the second webinar of coping with COVID. And we'll really look forward to continuing this series and answering your questions and responding to your priorities as the United Nations. So stay tuned. We'll be sharing soon the details for the next upcoming webinars. And in the meantime, if you have any comments, feedback, or ideas to how to make these webinars more fun and engaging and more productive going forward, feel free to send your feedback to youthonvoy@un.org. I'll also put it in the chat box, and write to us your ideas and proposals, and we'll take it from there. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. Stay safe, stay healthy, and make sure that you are as healthy mentally as you're healthy physically. Thank you very much.